The fourth authority is when somebody doesn't have the emotions or the sacral or the spleen center colored in, but they do have the heart center colored in here. They have willpower. And so what we say to people with this authority, what you want is what needs to happen. And that takes people aback a bit sometimes. What do you mean? I'm supposed to do anything I want? And there's no supposed about this at all. It's just what you want is what needs to happen. So be clear in your heart what you want. The fifth of these authorities is when none of these centers are colored in here, but the yellow diamond center in the middle is colored in. This is what we call self-authority, and people here, they get a sense of personal joy. It's the subtlest of all the authorities. It's in the sternum, right in the middle of the chest, and it's a little bit like the still small voice within. I coach people about this. It's a rare person that has this in their makeup, but they absolutely have to trust the nuances of sensations that go on inside them that indicate something's calling to them or not, something's interesting for them or not. And it's so easy for people with this authority to be overwhelmed by other people, you know, people that have an emotion, oh, come on, we've got to do this, and, you know, people that have a big push to do things. So I really advise people with that authority to be really clear in themselves. And then the last of these authorities, the sixth one, is what we call outer authority, and it requires a 29-day review. So basically this is for people that have none of the centers colored in, people we were calling reflectors, and also for people that have the mind centers colored in, or maybe the mind to the throat, but none of these other centers colored in here. And so the 29-day review, why would I say 29 days to review anything? It's basically the time it takes for the moon to go around. And what the moon does is, as it goes through all of the 64 gates in that wheel around us, it clicks in and out of every one of these 64 gates in this life chart and gives this person, if they're a reflector with no colored-in centers, it gives them access to these other centers during the month. And so what we say to people with this 29-day review is allow yourself during that 29 days to inquire of everybody. Read up on it, Google it, have discussions with people, get all your friends' input on it. And you don't have to pay the blindest bit of attention to what anybody tells you, because you're just absorbing all these different nuances of whatever it is you're trying to work out. And what happens to people with this outer authority, at the end of their 29-day review, they are the most informed person. They've explored everything. They've felt into it, they've looked into it, they've got all the different nuances of it. And so essentially we find that reflectors particularly, or people with outer authority, they are amazingly informed people, but they have to wait for this 29-day review. What has happened since the book has been released, the book was released by HarperCollins in the UK a year ago, and New World Library in the Bay Area picked it up this year, and they're publishing it right now. When the book went out into the world from HarperCollins, everywhere except America, I kept getting these letters and emails from people saying they had no idea that they were a reflector or that they had this outer authority, and now they completely understand how their life works. It's absolutely an amazing thing for people to find out these things about themselves. I mean, I've had letters from all kinds of people, but I think the most amazing ones have been from people that have this outer authority, because now they can truly trust that it takes them a month to make a decision about stuff sometimes. And they find that given that month where everybody just calms down and stops pressuring them, you know, in that month they can find the clearest views of anything that anybody else can. The third of the three keys, and again there's much more information about this in the book, is what we call the 12 profiles. And each of us has one of these profiles, and it's a little bit of a tricky mathematical calculation, which we talk about in our seminars and trainings. But basically, if you see up in the top right-hand corner here, we've got a picture of the wheel, and if the sun is coming in this part of the sky over here, we say the sun and the earth are always opposite each other. We're in the middle. And then what I was telling you about this, be able to understand about our unconscious makeup, the genetic inheritance that we get from our forebears, that is from a moment in time, 88 degrees of solar arc before we were born. Sounds a little complicated. It's about 3 months before we were born. We're inside Mum's womb, waiting to come into the world. And there's a moment when the neocortex turns on, and we take in a first burst of information. Now, being inside the womb, no access outside, that is the moment at which we get our genetic imprint. And so from where the sun and the earth axis is in the sky, we go back 88 degrees of arc. It's almost a right angle, but here we find our whole genetic input and the whole unconscious side of our makeup. And so the profile is made up of the line number with the conscious sun and the line number with the unconscious sun. And so we each have one of these 12 profiles. And the profile is fascinating because it outlines the ways in which we interact with the world and how the world sees us. And it's a huge understanding when you see all these 12 different ways in which people can just be accepted into the world and who clicks with you and who doesn't. So it's fascinating. Of these 12 profiles, the majority of them are what we call personal profiles. So this is very much somebody having personal achievements and fulfillment in their lifetime. And some of these profiles, 4 of them, they have a much more kind of an overseeing side of things. They're much more likely to interact or intercede on behalf of other people. So they're very good at helping put other people's lives in perspective, helping them out and stuff.